Greetings and welcome to the Freedback Friday edition of The Rundown. I am your host for today's program, Mike Piwowarski, but I don't do the program by myself because I got guests on the West Coast.
That's right. Guests on the West Coast. That would be me, Craig DeLuz, coming at you once again from the Rundown Studios in Sacramento, California, behind enemy lines, or otherwise what I like to call the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as, well, the Sierras.
You know, when we say the Rundown Studios, it makes it sound like we're really old studios, analog equipment. We're coming to you from the Rundown Studios.
We're coming to you from the Joe Biden Rundown Studios.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got corn pop tied up over here in the corner. We've taken over the Joe Biden Rundown Studios.
The Joe Biden. You know, when my leg's out in the sun, the hair turns blonde. What? Stop it, Joe. Go back inside.
Poor Joe.
Greg, you appear to be back in the normal Rundown Studios, not the mobile Rundown Studios.
Yes, no, I am no longer in the mobile Rundown Studios, although part of the Rundown Studios that is mobile does go with me, which is why we had some of the technical difficulties getting on board today because, I had to get in here after a long drive from where I was. Got in here late last night, got everything kind of reset up this morning. I'm only halfway caffeinated, so yeah, it's been fun.
Gotcha. So you're back there. No, wait. I guess we should check. We have audio, right? Audio.
We do have audio.
Good to go. Are we revealing yet where we were, or are we going to let people keep guessing on that?
Well, we'll let people guess by the end of if you can guess, just put it in the comments. Now, here's the deal. This is broadcasting on a number of different pages, but the only two pages we're monitoring comments on are the Rundown. So if you're watching us on YouTube, switch over to the Rundown on YouTube. If you're watching us on Facebook, make sure you switch over to the Rundown on Facebook because we're broadcasting too many places for us to be able to follow all the comments for everyone. So that there be where it be. So those are the two that we're going to be looking at.
Got it. Sounds good. Craig, and by the way, happy 69th episode to you.
Yes, this is our 69th episode, the 69th episode of the Rundown. No sexual connotations or anything like that. For those of you out there, I know how some of you think, and yet no.
I was thinking sports, actually. I was thinking famous players that wore number 69. I could think of two. Baseball, Bronson Arroyo, former pitcher for the Red Sox, World Championship winner there, and the Reds, I believe he pitched for. And then football is Mark Schlerth. Remember, he was with the Redskins and the Broncos, I believe. He's now a broadcaster.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go with that.
I'm sorry, I have one of those number brains.
All right, yeah, we'll go with that one, Mikey. We'll go with that one.
There we go. You could stick to the other stuff you were thinking about.
Do me a favor, let folks know. We're still giving away stuff, so let them know what they get if they are the best commenter of the day.
Yeah, we think, listen, we're going to have some more stuff for you next week, but this is it. This is the last of what we've got. Maybe it'll be renewed, maybe it won't be renewed. But what we have from our good friends at Gorilla Machining is a nice upper receiver, aluminum T7075 aircraft grade aluminum upper receiver for America's rifle, and then we have a lower 80% paperweight. Sorry, we have an 80% lower paperweight. This is right now. I'm surprised you can see it because it's in ghost form right now. And then we put them together. And that's like Forrest and Jenny right there. That's like peas and carrots, the way they go together.
Wow. So now, folks, that's going to go to the best commenter of the day. So we're looking for at least 10 folks to be commenting between the two channels. We will take the best comment of the day. And trust me, there have been some doozies, so you got to bring your A game.
Bring that A game right here, and make sure you visit our good friends there at Gorilla Machining and Grid Defense.
Exactly. Their links are in the description to this video, to this live feed.
There we go.
All right, so hey, why don't we go ahead and jump into the news?
Let's do it. I'll let you take the first topic away, sir. Go right ahead. Oh, wait, okay. You already put me on the video, so I'll do it. Okay. we don't have. I need one of those red lights. Like you're on the air. Let's see. The Trump Company has been. They have received indictments after a probe there. Now, this probe was a combination of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and that is not Jack McCoy, by the way. Jack would never do this. And it was that Cy Vance Jr., right? Is that his name? And
Yeah.
and then we have the Letitia James, the AG, who has offered to assist and help in this investigation. Because why wouldn't she? This is all they're going after the Trump Corporation or one of the Trump corporations due to some tax issues. This is nothing that's anything more than partisan politics going after President Trump. Listen, these two people get their lead from the corporate politician in chief, Governor Cuomo there. So they have no problem going after the former president and his organization to try and suggest in some way, somehow, that because they don't like mean tweets or the way that he ruled the country as the president, that this is going to correct that problem. The only thing this is going to do, and I keep telling you this over and over again, is going to cause more dissension when the next GOP president takes office. That's what this is going to accomplish.
Well, Mike, let me just tell you, and that's exactly, I think you hit the nail on the head. The fact is that these are political prosecutions, and they are nothing more. Now, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about all of the stories in AP and Reuters and all of these big time news stories and all the big news publications about all this stuff that was going to be taking place and all the investigations and all of that. And this is the best that they've got. They've literally got the fact that, okay, now check this out. This is what happened. So the CEO or the CFO got an apartment and wasn't charged for it. That's what they're getting him for. His kid went to school and the tuition was paid. We're not talking about. I mean, we're talking about the fact that he had a home. He didn't declare his Manhattan apartment as his primary residence. Rather, he claimed another residence, which allowed him to forego having to pay taxes in the very high taxes, by the way, in the city of New York. I mean, the fact is that once again, there's no Russian collusion, there's no conspiracy theory. There's no attempt to overthrow the government working with foreign agencies. And the funniest part about the whole thing is, Mike, they still didn't get Donald Trump. They still haven't gotten Donald Trump. You want to talk about ghost guns? Look, this is a ghost. This is a witch hunt. It literally is, and they so far have yet to catch a witch. Big surprise.
Yeah, listen, this is pure partisan politics. We see this over and again. And how many times do we have to tell you that, listen, we all wanted to see Hillary Clinton go to jail. It got said during a debate because you'd be in jail. And the president had the opportunity. He sat down with advisors. He sat down with his family. He sat down with everybody and said, listen, if we do that, we're going to divide the country. We really are. So we're not going to do that. And we've had this administration say that we all have to come together. Yet this is exactly what they're doing, trying to divide the country. Craig, the incidents that you pointed out that the CFO has happened, this is exactly what happens when you negotiate a deal as an executive. They say, listen, we want you to come be our new chief executive officer. You say, okay, well, I want my kids to go to school for free and you pay for my apartment. Boom. That's what happens. It's part of my compensation package. So now the state comes in and says, well, if he got paid if his kids got to go to school for free and he lived for free, then the city taxpayers are out money and he defrauded the city out of tax money. You know what? Go sue the corporation. You sue the corporation civilly because guess what you can't do? You can't charge a corporation criminally because what happens when you find them guilty? You're going to go outside and lock up the sign and put the sign in jail? It's a corporation. It's not an individual.
Well, but Mike, they even point out I actually found the story where they talked about, what comes from it from an AP article. And there were a couple of things that they point out. Number one, this is normally something that literally is handled between lawyers. It's something that's negotiated and he winds up paying back taxes and a penalty, right? Yeah, normally that's how that's handled. The other thing is that basically what you have is the company didn't declare it, didn't put it on the tax form that they put out. They didn't have it as income, and he didn't declare it as income. And
it's not his duty to report that as income. It's the duty of the corporation to say we comped him the apartment, so we owe this much in tax difference.
Well, no. If it is compensation, if it's considered compensation, then it is part of what of his taxable income. You can actually be taxed on it, but the
Right.
point is, it's up to them to
Yeah.
list it as income so that he knows he's supposed to be paying taxes on it.
There's very small differences too, and that's
Right.
where this is going to, because it's let's say it's the company apartment and the company has owned the
Right.
apartment for years, as
Right.
opposed to they bought the apartment for him. Okay.
Right.
That's the difference between paying tax and not paying tax. The
Mhm.
company owns it. They already pay the corporate taxes on it. If they
Right.
bought it for him, then he has to make sure that those taxes are paid.
And,
Yeah,
and
but
Mikey,
that's
the interest,
things
yeah.
in here. Yeah.
The thing is that the fact that you and I are talking about and going back and forth on this just shows how nuanced and how literally, I mean, we're not talking felony crime here.
Yeah.
We're talking about they've probably spent millions of dollars investigating Donald Trump there in the city and the state of New York.
Yeah.
And this is what they came up with. This is the result of their witch hunt. They didn't even find, like, you know, a witch's, what do they call it? Witch's apprentice. I don't know. But they didn't even find a frigging broom.
Yeah. Yeah.
No flying monkeys.
This is, I mean, listen, just for those of you out there, for how big this is in the tax realm. Imagine if the government owes you taxes at the end of the year. Imagine if the government owes you money back. Okay. But you file late.
Right.
Okay. You see where I'm going? They owe you money, but you filed late to get the money back that they owe you. This is the kind of how small this is. Sir,
Right.
We're going to hold you accountable for not getting the money from us sooner. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what?
By the way,
that's small and insignificant this is.
real quick, want to say hello, Kevin, Brian, Patrick's on the line now. We also have over on YouTube. Well, now Brian's watching us on two different platforms. He's commenting on both YouTube and on Facebook. We also got David who's watching us as well. Thank you all. We really appreciate you guys for being faithful viewers of the Rundown. You guys know this is crap, right? I mean, look, Brian here says that's why Donald Trump is the Teflon Don. Democrats can't get nothing to stick.
Listen, they go after him with this nonsense. And you know what happened this week in the life of Donald Trump, former president, 45th president? You know what happened to him this week? They went after him. So he went out and held a rally out in Ohio, I believe it was. They lost count at 50,000. They lost count at 50,000. Yeah. Joe Biden can't get 3 people to show up for a news conference. And the former president is getting 50,000 people just when he shows up.
Well, he can't get anyone to show up because he won't answer any questions and he won't say anything. Although literally, I think all of the people who do show up, I swear they are all stand-up comedians just looking for content for their next bit, because pretty much Joe Biden is going to turn out to be he's a gold mine. If you're a comedian and you don't mind taking on the woke left, dude is a gold mine of content. Yep.
Yeah, he sure is. He's like going to watch Joe Biden's like going to watch NASCAR and drinking and driving night, you know, or we got no spare parts night, something like that, because the crash is going to happen. It's going to happen. You just want to see it happen. All right, let's jump on to the next one here. General Milley, 4-star General Milley, that's his title, General, was one of Trump's favorite generals, and now he's the darling of the left. Listen, I talked to you folks a week ago, 2 weeks ago. We talked about General Milley when it came to his vision on wokeness. Also gave you some of his insights on the Second Amendment as well. I'll tell you this, and those that have been in and around General Milley for years and years know that he is the kind of guy that is going to salute the flag in front of him, no matter which flag is in front of him. Okay, he is going to be loyal to the boss and not necessarily to the Constitution. He's going to be loyal to the individual. And we have a thing in the military we call, you're loyal to the command, not loyal to the commander. What's that mean? That means like if I said, we talked about it yesterday briefly, Craig. I respect the American flag in the United States of America. I may not like my president right now, but I respect the United States of America and the flag. The guy that holds the office of president right now, we may have some disagreements, but that doesn't mean I'm going to spit on the other two. Well, General Milley's always been a guy that will salute any flag you put in front of him. He's going to be loyal to the boss rather than to the organization. So that's what's going on here. He's the guy that's always going to be the yes boss, yes man, yes sir, yes sir. That's the kind of guy he is.
All right, before I give you kind of my take on this, I'm just wondering. All right, Patrick, you have to define what you mean by amateur night at the strip club. I don't know where that comment came from. I don't know what the impetus behind it was, but it caught my attention. It's saying.
I think we're talking about when you go to watch a Joe Biden press conference. It's like amateur night at the strip club.
There you go.
You want to see you want to see them fall off the pole. You know.
I wouldn't know anything about that, Mike. I honestly wouldn't.
I'm just reading Patrick's comments. That's all.
That is hilarious. But dude, it's funny to me, and I'm looking at this more from the perspective of the left, because you think about it. It didn't matter if it was John Bolton. Didn't matter if it was oh my God, anybody who comes out of the Trump White House not liking Donald Trump or upset with Donald Trump, all of a sudden, George Bush, John McCain. You look at all the bad, nasty, negative things they say about these individuals until they turned on Donald Trump. And once they no longer represented conservativeness or turned on Donald Trump, all of a sudden they became the darlings of the media. And it's just like, you start to wonder, it's like, wait, is this the same guy that you wrote about before? I mean, they hated Donald Trump. I mean, they hated Miley when he was Donald Trump's general. Yes. But as soon as he became Joe Biden's general and was talking about wokeness, I'm sorry, but here's the thing. I find it very difficult to believe that I'm going to be able to read a book called White Fragility or How to Be an Anti-Racist and learn anything about quote unquote white rage.
Right. Yeah.
First of all, the assumption, the flat out assumption that January 6th had anything to do with white rage. I mean, I knew some people there who weren't white. Does that mean that they too have white rage?
Is that what it is now? Is there the same white rage? I just honestly hadn't paid attention to that. And
well, that's what Miley said. Miley said, well, I want to know what happened on January 6th. I want to understand white rage.
General, retire. Go to the old general's home. Yeah. Retire. Hang out at the VFW. Tell lies. Do whatever you want to do. Just stop being the guy who salutes whatever flag they put in front of him. Yeah, you're the worst part of it.
Don't be that guy, because you know what? Here's the thing, Mikey, and I think you know this. Both in the military, when you take elective office or when you go into law enforcement, you take an oath of office, and that oath is to uphold the Constitution. And when you start to violate the Constitution, or in this particular case, start advancing principles that are contrary to our Constitution, one has to then wonder whether or not you are what you are doing is consistent with your oath of office. And me being a civilian, I know that I feel comfortable saying that about the general.
Let me say this, because oaths come up a lot.
Right.
When you take the oath, one of the portions, if they're absolutely right, is the Constitution, but it's also to obey the orders of those appointed over you, which would be the president or your generals. One of the things that is immediately clarified after that you learn as a leader or even as a junior follower is that those orders must be legal, they must be moral, and they must be illegal, immoral, and unethical. So they have to be ethical, moral, and legal for you to follow those orders. So it's not a blind following and saluting and charging up the hill. They must be legal, ethical, and moral.
That is an excellent point. Let's see here. We have Brian commented. He said the left is just using ex-Trump people to get any dirt they can get to use against Trump. Milley has to go. Yeah, I don't. I'll let the current president is the one who decides whether or not he has to go or doesn't have to go. At least the current president knows he's got a fellow wokester representing him in the military.
Yeah, and he's going to have to. He's probably going to be there a little bit while longer, at least another year. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is political appointment position. It's unless he's being relieved for cause, he's going to be there. It's designed for them to be in place over the change of terms of president. That way, it doesn't become a political office and just a a yes man for whoever the current president is. Yeah, Craig. This is just another one, like you said. All those other ones, all those other politicians that were pro Trump, and then they didn't like the president, and then the left grabbed onto him. Yeah, you know what? I see very, very, very few of them that I've ever agreed with. Anyway, if President Trump ever fired one of those people, all I had to ask was were they a politician? Okay, good. I understand why he fired them, because at some point they went back to their politician ways, and President Trump was not a politician, and he said, either get on board with the new way, or get off the track, because you're about to get hit by the Trump train, baby.
Amen. Moving right along.
Supreme Court says Arizona limits on voter registration or voting rights is not a violation. Huh? This is what we've seen gone on now, Craig, in many, many states around the union. We have seen this is the reason the Major League Baseball pulled out of Georgia to go to the more restrictive state of Colorado. We've seen this happen in Florida. We've seen this happen in many states. Arizona's was the first to make it to the Supreme Court. And Craig, it's just like all of the other items that you and I had been looking about and talking about, where they narrowed the focus, they defined things that were not in law, rather than having items that were just willy nilly. This is the way we've always done it in the name of separatism. But now the Supreme Court has said no, these are not violations of the Voting Act, and this is what we're going to go forward with.
Well, Mike, the thing here is, and the thing they're pointing out is, they realize that what the left is looking for is equality of outcome, not equality of opportunity. In this case, right. Equality of opportunity to vote. Right now, under the law, under Arizona's law, and under, by the way, many of the laws that have been passed that the left complains about, it creates equal opportunity for voting. So everyone has the same opportunity to vote. The difference is you can't make people vote. You can't make them show up to the polls. And so there's a disparate outcome in terms of who votes. And you can't control that. All you can do is create equality of opportunity. And I think that's what the Supreme Court is saying in this particular decision is, look, they provide the same outcome. They provide the same opportunity for you, no matter what your socioeconomic status is, no matter what your ethnicity is, no matter what your race is or gender. You all have the same opportunity to come to the polls and vote. And that's really what we're talking about, is making the election so that you're not being restricted from voting, but also making sure you're protecting the integrity of the vote. And if you don't protect the integrity of the vote, then you violate or you harm the rights of all the individuals who legally vote. And that's the thing they're pointing out here. And this is the thing, Mikey. This is going to spell very, very bad news for some of these folks out there who seem to think that, these voters' laws, like the ones that are happening, right? Like you have the federal government, Department of Justice, right now is suing the state of Georgia. This doesn't spell well. This doesn't speak well of their chances when they eventually get to the Supreme Court of overturning Georgia's voting laws.
Well, and listen, in fact, because this has come from the Supreme Court, this has now come from the top court, Craig. All of those other cases out there, whether they're filed in Florida, which they have been filed, which they've been filed in Georgia, those cases will now be thrown out. All the attorney has to do for the state is come in and go, Your Honor, here's the Supreme Court precedence that has been set. It's based on the same items, and our laws are nearly identical, and their complaints are this. Your precedence now, Your Honor, is Arizona versus Supreme Court, and the judge will be duty-bound to throw it out. They cannot appeal it and say, well, we're in a different district. Guess what? We're all in the Supreme Court's district. If this had come out of the 6th or the 9th or somewhere else, and you were over here in the 4th fighting it, it would continue to go. But because the Supreme Court's made this decision, all the other issues now against this will go. And Craig, I just want to add on to what you said there. The left would have you believe that all of these voting laws that have been passed are designed to keep black people and minorities and illegal aliens from voting. And when it's not, it's the exact opposite. It's what you said. It puts integrity into place where it was not done before.
Well, something else though that a lot of people don't realize is a lot of what people are going after is this, and when in particular you notice they're suing when they sue like in particular southern states like Georgia, they're going to be going after I think also Tennessee and Texas, is the 1965 Voter Rights Act. A lot of what was in there was because there was a demonstrated history at that time over the decades leading up to 1965 of voter suppression in the South. Now, mind you, Mike, this is almost 60 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the problem is that under the Voting Rights Act, many southern states have had to go to the federal government to get permission to change any of their voting laws. And what's happening is that you have states now, several years ago, you basically had states started to challenge those aspects of it because they're like, look, there is no record of voter suppression over the last 50 years. We ought to be able to make rules, laws, and decisions for ourselves regarding our voting laws. And so when people talk about they're trying to overturn the Civil Rights Act, all they're really trying to do is say, look, we are a state, and the Constitution gives us the right to make decisions about elections in our state. We ought to be able to do that, just like every other state. And that's really a big part of what they're fighting. And basically Democrats, once again, wanting to control how elections are done in southern states.
Yeah, absolutely. And were there problems with segregation back in the 50s and 60s? Of course there were. But like you said, Craig, we're almost 60 years away from that now. These laws were not written in such a way where it said, I want these districts to have to do this that are predominantly, minorities, and these districts to do it differently. It's not what it says. It says we were going to do this uniformly across the state to preserve the integrity of our elections.
God, equality. Well, wow. Interesting concept that by the way, Democrats have just given up on equality. That's why they want equity now.
Right.
See, equity means that certain groups get more, and that's kind of their goal.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, look at the comments here. Brian says Democrats crying because that with this ruling now they can't get their way. Yeah, they want to talk. They're talking about packing the courts again, just like Kevin said. So, exactly right. All right, let's move along here. We've got Attorney General Merrick, who, by the way, was failed to get on the Supreme Court, so they made him Attorney General. Here's your consolation prize. Attorney General Merrick Garland, he has suspended federal executions. Craig, I don't think you and I have ever had a discussion on here about executions and the death penalty before.
No, in fact, we have not. And I'm a big believer in there are some people who commit crimes that are so heinous. First of all, I don't believe in the deterrent effect of executions. I just don't. I don't believe it is a deterrent. What I believe is that there are some people who do and commit crimes that are so heinous that they basically surrender their right to continue to live amongst us, and we have no obligation to continue to pay for them to continue to breathe on this earth, and that to me is the point of the execution process. And when you listen to and you read about some of the things that some of these federal criminals who are on death row, it is almost zero doubt that these folks deserve, they forfeit their life, period. I believe in protecting innocent life. These are not innocent lives. And anyway, but now you have an attorney general who has decided that he is going to go against the Constitution because the Constitution doesn't give him the right to make this decision. He's going to go against Congress because Congress is the only one who can pass laws in this particular area. He's basically decided he is not going to do his job. And that's it. He's just not going to do his job, and he's going to ignore the law. And I think something needs to be done about that.
Remember, he's got a pen and he's got a cell phone, so he can do what he wants. That's the way this administration is. They learned that from this guy's former boss, under the Obama administration. They can do that like they want. Obviously, it's unconstitutional what he's done and the authority he's taken, but he doesn't care. And he'll have to wait for the Supreme Court to come down to smack them down too. Craig, let me go back to this, just where you said the deterrent effect of the death penalty. And I want to relate it to something that you and I are a little bit more intimate with. Do criminals on the most part, respect Second Amendment laws? Do they respect gun-free zone signs?
Of course they do.
Well, I mean, I'm serious. I mean, do
Seriously, no, they don't. No, they don't.
No.
Because criminals are, by definition, criminals break the law. So no, they don't. They don't follow Second Amendment laws.
Do us as law-abiding, you and I, and those like us as law-abiding citizens, respect gun-free zone signs?
Yes, we do.
We do. Now I want you to relate that to the death penalty. Do those criminals that don't care about the law, do they care about the death penalty?
No, because they're probably not even thinking.
No.
They don't think they're going to get caught, or they're not thinking through the consequences.
But how about you and I? And I'm not saying you or I have murderous tendencies at all, but is one of the reasons that we would not go there if it ever crossed our minds, because we do respect the law and understand that the death penalty could occur to us.
Well, life in prison doesn't sound any better than the death penalty.
I think the reason I'm bringing this up, and I'm not trying to change your mind, Craig, is when I hear people say that the death penalty is not a deterrent, I think they're only looking at the criminals and not the law abiding, which is the same thing that argument that you and I make with gun-free zone signs. That it only applies to those that obey the law; those that don't care.
Exactly. No, you just hit the nail on the head. Anyway, but this goes back to separation of powers. This is, and once again, the executive branch overreaching into something that is really not their purview, not their job. I look on here, and it seems like Kevin agrees with us. Also, we have Phil. He's got his name abbreviated, so maybe
I think that's Phil McCracken.
Phil McCracken. There you go. We'll call you Phil McCracken until we know the exact pronunciation of your name. He says, "Look how much damage Garland is and will do as AG. Imagine how much damage he would have done as a justice on the high court." Oh, most definitely. He would have been an activist judge.
There's I see that must be on YouTube. I'm looking on the Facebook comments.
Yeah, he's over on YouTube.
Oh, I thought you were just making up the name, Phil. I did not mean to make fun of your name, Phil McCracken.
I just five per bird. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. But yeah, no, dude's over on YouTube.
Remember, Phil was the character's name from Bill Murray in oh my God, the bowling movie with Woody Harrelson, Kingpin. So, you said Phil, I said Phil McCracken. No offense. I did not see your name. Oh, Craig just got it. On the fourth time I said it.
I'm sorry. I can't. Go to the next story.
No, I'm serious. Phil, I didn't realize you're on here. I'm looking at the Facebook comments, and it was a Kingpin quote. So, all right, San Jose to make gun owners carry insurance, pay into the public fund. Craig, we talked about this with qualified immunity. Why do we continue to allow elected officials to pass laws that are unconstitutional, that have clearly been set in precedent before, that you cannot do this? You are not allowed to tax a constitutional right. You are not allowed to do this. Why do we continue to see elected officials do this? Why can't we pull their qualified immunity or make them subject to qualified immunity? So if they are violating a constitutional right or violating a known standard or law, that we could thereby charge them or make them civilly liable. Why can't we do that?
I think what you do is you make it so that if they knowingly do, because in cases like this, I am almost positive that their city attorney has told them that this is questionable, in particular, but not necessarily about the taxation reason. The main issue is that anybody who understands insurance and insurance law knows that you cannot insure against a criminal act. In other words, I can't go and get insurance to pay off a lawsuit if I get sued because I murder somebody, because if I go out and break the law. So the insurance that they are requesting here, that they're looking for here, it doesn't exist. Insurance companies don't provide it. They can't provide it. That's why this idea has been introduced in the California legislature multiple times, and multiple times it dies because you just can't do this. So what they're doing is they're requiring an insurance that doesn't exist, which means that if you own a gun in the city of San Jose, well, you're you're not going to be able to get insurance, so you're going to have to surrender the gun. That's the other thing, is they're saying if you don't get the insurance and you don't pay this tax, this fee to own the gun, well, then they're going to confiscate it. Now, Mikey, here's the thing. Now, we already know that registrations or firearm registrations have been deemed to be pretty much, unconstitutional. So
Correct.
we know that. So how are they going to know who owns a gun unless they have a registry? They're not allowed access to that information. And even in the state of California, the city can't just go and find out who bought guns or who owns guns. They're not allowed to do that. So how exactly are they going to do this? How are they going to figure this stuff out without creating a registry?
We've seen this in California. We've seen this in Chicago. We've seen this in D.C. What they do is they do exactly this. They say, well, you have to have insurance. Well, once this is found to be non-constitutional or unconstitutional, then they're going to come along and say, okay, well, we're going to pass a bill that says you can have a firearm, but you can only get it from an FFL within the city limits. So then they get rid of all the FFLs within the city limits. That's what DC did. That's what Chicago did. So you couldn't buy that handgun there. Well, then they went to other places in the state where they could buy handguns. So then they say, okay, we're going to pass a law that says, in addition to your state, your federal background check, now you have to fill out your state form. So guess what the state can get? Guess what the city can get? They can't go in and see those federal forms, but if they make it the state law that you have to fill out the state paperwork also, they can get that registration information from your state background check form.
Okay, Fiber Optic. That's his name. Now he spells it different, but Fiber Optic is the commenter's name, so it's not Phil McCracken.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, and he says California is out of control. And mind you, by the way, dude, this is once again, even in the state of California, the city is not allowed to go in or doesn't have access to what's called the automated firearm system. They don't have the ability to go into that. So no, they don't know. They're not supposed to know who owns guns or how they have guns. But once again, when people start saying, I'll just tell you this, when they tell you that they're not coming for your guns and no one wants to take your guns, well, here it is. They want you to buy expensive insurance and they want you to pay an expensive tax. Otherwise, guess what they're going to do? They're going to take your guns.
Listen, if a liberal tells you that they're not going to take your guns, it means they're going to take your guns. If they tell you we are going to take your guns, it means we're going to take your guns. If they tell you tomorrow is going to be 80% chance of rain with a high of 84, that means they're going to take your guns. No matter what they say, it means they're going to take your guns. That's the end game. That's the goal.
Exactly. Especially when they start talking registry. The only reason for registries is so that they know where the guns are going to be when they come to take your guns.
If they're going to violate your Second Amendment rights, do you think they're worried about violating your Fourth Amendment rights? Not at all.
Exactamundo.
All right, parting shot time, Craig. Let's go ahead and bring up the picture here of our parting shot.
All right, so let's give this one a little bit of prerequisites. So,
all right, go ahead, do so.
All right, so these kids basically, they're in a community, they're in a place that is, I won't say the name of the community of the place, but they're in a place that's like 97% white. And they got pretty much frustrated with all of the wokeness and all of the Black Lives Matter, yada, yada, yada. And they're just like, look, we just want to go to school, right? We just want to have a good time. We're tired of all this stuff. And so they decided to all get together and put on these T-shirts. Now, as you can see here, their T-shirts, well, if you can't see here, they say White Lives Matter. And someone in this community, which, by the way, is largely a conservative community, decided they were very, very upset about it. And they're like, they thought that this was some of the most racist things that they had ever seen. Now, Mike, when you saw this, what was your first thought?
I got one of those little sayings I like to put out there. It's called good initiative, bad judgment. These kids, obviously, you could tell that their intent here was to say that all lives matter. And we want to just make sure that you guys understand that it's not just Black lives that matter. It's white lives that matter also, which should take you into the further statement of all lives matter. And when I say all lives matter. I mean, all lives matter. You can't co-opt my words and tell me they mean something different. And these kids were probably trying to get a little giggle, get a little laugh. Their shirts don't say Black Lives Don't Matter. I want to make sure you point that out. The thing that I think where it's bad judgment, they failed to do their research and to find out that the whole White Lives Matter slogan has been corrupted by some racist fools out there. So probably not the best decision. I understand their intent, but their execution was not well played.
Well, and I think, Mike, that brings me to kind of to my point. You know, we have long said that within Black Lives Matter, there's Black Lives Matter, the statement, which I believe that all of us can at least get behind because, you know, all lives matter. And if all lives matter, well, then Black Lives Matter.
Correct.
So
Correct.
there's no, I think while people can get into the nuance and get upset about it, you're choosing something. You're looking for something to get upset about. Yeah. There's Black Lives Matter, the movement, which includes a number of different policies, some of which I think we can agree on, like making sure, like police reform, making sure that law enforcement is there's not disparate treatment. I'm not saying there is. I'm not saying there isn't. I'm saying let's make sure that there's a level of accountability, so we make sure that there isn't. I think that some of the things we can get there, and then there's some policies that none of us are going to get down with. But then there's Black Lives Matter, the organization, which is at its root a Marxist organization, or at least the very least based on Marxist principles, with the goal of overturning and changing everything in our society, from the family to our Judeo-Christian roots to our form of our economy, our free market economy, our criminal justice system. Everything they want to turn on its head. And I think all of us can agree that that's bad stuff and we ought not be supporting that. Even half of the people who claim to support Black Lives Matter don't know about the organization. Many of them don't know about the organization and what it's really about. Instead, they just jump on this slogan, Black Lives Matter, and they say, well, if you're against Black Lives Matter, well, then there's something wrong with you. Well, here's a group of kids, and you made the great thought, because in the end, yeah, White Lives Matter is a racist organization that is promoting not just Eurocentrism or Western culture, but has whose leaders and organizers, by the way, it's a very small group, but have said some things that are actually quite racist. And I think it's important for us to dig a little deeper before we start putting our names behind stuff or getting behind stuff.
And I think that's the lessons for these kids here is perhaps just, guys, spend 5 minutes, do a little research, do a little Googling, and find out. Just find out. You know, nobody would have cared if you had got out there with signs and said Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, all lives matter, because that's clear what I'm trying to say there. But when you come out, you know, you come out with this and you're co-opting the slogan of the Klan. That's not what you want to be seen. You know, just
exactly.
And I know that's not what these kids meant. You know, that's absolutely not.
Well, exactly. But it was turned into a very big thing, and it was turned into a very big thing because, well, they didn't think it through. And by the way, people are looking for all opportunities to basically point at something, look at something, and call it racism. Because,
look, I'm a victim. I'm a victim of what they just said. I'm now a victim.
Right.
Everybody's trying to find a spot in victimhood, Craig. Mm-hmm. These kids might have.
There are 3% of the people in this particular town who are now victims because these folks said White Lives Matter. Because even though we all know, White Lives Matter because all lives matter.
Don't forget the other people that are victims because they feel other people should be victims, so they're gonna adopt that victimhood also. I'm offended because you should be offended. You know
exactly. You know, Kevin Sona makes a great point. Every profession should be accountable. I just think also the groups that need to be accountable, the more power you're given, the more one is given, the more accountable that they should be. I think that includes elected officials. I think that includes law enforcement. I think that includes judges. I think it's vital that you are held accountable for the decisions and the positions that you take, or the you know, to me, it's odd to me. When we look back at the example of the city of San Jose, I know these folks were told that this is unconstitutional and would face a constitutional challenge, and yet they passed it anyway.
Yep.
And they will not be held accountable. Well, Hopefully, they'll be held accountable on election day, but legally, they should be held accountable for deliberately violating the Constitution.
They said, listen, they had time. They went into this. And they knew that they were violating the law. This was no life or death decision for them. This was them trying to make a point, knowing they would not be held liable.
Yeah,
that's the definition of how qualified immunity will not protect them, unlike how it does in law enforcement.
Okay, now guys, all right, let's move right along. So now, before we go on to our commenter of the day, all right, folks, got to guess where were Mike and I this past week? And by the way, for those of you on YouTube who are asking, we are on Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and those of y'all in the middle of the country, y'all figure out what that means if you're on Mountain or Central Time. So we're on every day. Monday through Friday at those times, if you guys want to watch and tune in and comment. All right, but so far I haven't heard any comments about where they thought we were, and we gave a few hints, right?
Yes,
I think we didn't give a plethora of hints, but we did give a few.
Right. I think the hints I gave were not home. You did make a reference to not exactly the East Coast. That was one that you gave. So what exactly do you mean by not? You don't have to tell them, but what exactly do they mean by not exactly the East Coast? I pointed out several times that I was still behind the Sierras. Yes.
That I was still on the left coast, and by the way, I also intimated that I drove. So that ought to open up some points. Fiber Optics said at the border, so he's insinuating. I don't know if he's talking about me or you. That's over on YouTube. No, I was not at the border.
Kevin said was I at St. Pete Beach, and that brings up the question because can I be on the East Coast but still be on the West Coast? Because if I'm in St. Pete Beach, I'm on the West Coast of Florida. Is it still the East Coast?
It is still considered the East Coast.
Okay, I would agree.
You're in a state that borders the East.
Correct.
It's like saying, well, if I'm on the west, if I'm on western end of New York, am I still on the East Coast? Yes, you are.
Yeah, but you're not in New York City. We know that. Let's see. Kevin, to answer your question, no, it was not St. Pete Beach. So, but good try. So,
see, it's kind of interesting because I'm thinking to myself, literally for me, and maybe it's just you have to be a West Coast person. There's really only one place that I can think of that's on the left of the Sierras. I guess there's two that are within driving distance.
Well, listen, I drive 14, 15 hours at a time when I go somewhere. I mean.
Mm-hmm. So Brian thinks I'm in Arizona.
Arizona.
So what side of the Sierras is Arizona on?
I think the Sierras end before you get down to that far south. I think the Sierras dead end right about the north.
Nice try, Brian. We'll give you a sticker for your effort.
Oh, I got it. There we go.
Okay.
It was right here.
Right there. Okay. So seeing as how we don't have any guesses as to where we might have been, I will say where I was.
Yep.
I was in Lincoln City, Oregon. That's right. I was in Oregon. Once again, I was on the other side of the Sierras, still on the left of the Sierras. So I was still on the left coast. It was within driving distance. The only other place you really could have probably pointed to would have been Washington State.
True. Very true. Very true. Yeah.
That is the only other place within driving distance. Because I also made a point. I was not in the state of California.
Yeah. Yeah. True. True.
See, this is the reason why you guys got to watch, folks. You pick up these clues. You'd have picked them up. Remember, like I said, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. or noon, depending on which coast you're on. Okay, Mikey.
Okay, mine. Let's see. I was still in in America. I mean, I think I said that. There was palm trees. Let's see. It was kind of East Coasty. I think I might have said that.
It qualifies, yes.
Definitely sunny and everything like that out there. I don't know. Let's see. I'm trying to give that about 30 seconds, see if that helps anybody. I believe at one point I mentioned took a flight, right? Didn't I say
You
took a
did.
flight?
You did talk. You did talk about a flight.
One point taking a flight. Um, let's see. I think I talked about bad internet connection. I think that was a clue I gave. Um,
Isn't fiber optics says isn't Colorado Oregon too?
well, it is pretty much now. Yeah, they got a pipeline. A pipeline between the two.
A
of them.
liberal pipeline.
That's it. Let's see. It's a glass pipeline. Kevin Soda said Panama City. That's what that's pretty close, Kevin. It's a pretty good guess based on the description I gave you. But I'm going to just go ahead and reveal it and keep the T-shirt from myself. And by the way, it's a new Buc-ee's T-shirt. Get yourself a Buc-ee's T-shirt. I'm already wearing it. I was in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands. So
there you go.
Went there for a couple of days. Wanted to test out some extradition theories, so see how it works.
There are a couple of places I would have guessed if I didn't already know, and I don't think I would have picked St. Thomas.
Yeah, that's why I was pretty sure I was going to keep this T-shirt where I decided to wear it.
Yeah, see, I knew pretty much. I was just surprised because I'm like, yeah, I guess those who don't live on the West Coast don't really know the kind of the geography of the West Coast. So, the Sierras was being out of California, west of the Sierras was pretty much narrowed it down to two places. Yeah. But it is what it is. Let's get on to our commenter of the day.
But yeah, I guess we can go there. I was gonna say, listen, those of us on the East Coast, Craig, the way we look at it is like when you guys go to Hawaii, us on the East Coast, we're like, damn, must be nice, billionaire boy. Because for us on the East Coast to go to Hawaii, well, add another 6-7 hours to it, plus all that flying time, it's $1,000 alone per person just for us to get to Hawaii. Whereas you guys are taking $75 flights there, like it's no big deal. We don't realize that. Well, it's the same way for us on the East Coast. Oh my God, you guys went down to the Caribbean. You went down to St. Thomas. You went to the Virgin Islands.
Ooh.
Like $70 each way to get there if you catch it on a good weekend.
There you go. Hey, look, if there was no other reason to move to Florida, that is it.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and Florida, man. You ever had an alligator thrown at you before? Come to Florida. Yeah. I didn't order pickles on my sandwich. Throw an alligator at you. That's a true story, by the way.
All right, dude. By the way, for our 69th episode, we have also set a record for the length of show.
Well, we missed a day this week. We're trying to make it up to everybody.
We did. There you go. That's it. See, so we make sure you guys get your full daily rundown. So instead of this just being the 69th episode, this is the 69th and the 70th episode of the rundown. There you go. I like that. Okay, brother. Well, the challenge is that I really want to give it to someone over on YouTube, but you haven't been on YouTube to look at the comments over there. So I feel kind of guilty.
No, it's okay because I trust you. And I think at this point I owe Phil McCracken a prize for calling him Phil McCracken. So that's exactly what I was thinking. So fiber optics, you will be the winner of today's prizes. Mikey, show him what he's won. He's won this fabulous set of turtle shell wax for your car. Now it's you got yourself an upper receiver here from our good friends at Gorilla Machining, lower 80% paperweight from our good friends at Grid Defense. So we will make sure to get these to you. And I know if you haven't gotten yours yet, you guys that have been selected, I just want to say we had a little issue in the shipping department. They'll all be going out rather soon. So thank you for your patience, your time, and support your local law enforcement. Right. So, sir, all you got to do is to reach out to us. Tell you what, you can always go ahead and if you're on Facebook, go ahead and DM us at the run. Look up the rundown. You can DM us there. Otherwise, if you're not on there, you can reach out to me. Just go ahead and drop me an email, Craig@usmediagroup.net, and send us your information and let us know. Now, if you reside in a state where this is not legal,
we'll work on getting you something else. So, but yeah, go ahead and reach out to us, or if you want to, go ahead and well, no, don't put your email address in the comments.
I think
here,
right now the only state where it's illegal to own an 80% in the form that we have them right here is in the state of New Jersey. So if you're in the state of New Jersey and you win, we will send you a bus pass to get out of New Jersey.
See, the gift that keeps on giving.
We do what we can, folks. We do.
Anyway, folks, hey, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. I don't care what platform you're watching us on. Please make it a point. Go to The Rundown on YouTube and on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and follow us on Instagram. Make sure to subscribe. Tell your friends about The Rundown. And also, make it a point. Visit our sponsors. Folks, that's how we pay the bills. That's how we're able to do stuff. We're able to give you stuff because folks want to know that their product is getting seen. So do me a favor. Visit the sponsors right there. Grid Defense, visit Guerrilla Machining, visit the California Republican Assembly, visit them, let them know that Craig and Mike over at The Rundown sent you.
Yes, thank you. And listen, I'm serious. If you're in New Jersey and you want to get out, we'll send you the bus pass. We did it for Kevin Sona. We got him out of there. Now he's down in Florida celebrating the Second Amendment. Although also he did say something in here, Craig, about weak ass crackers. I don't know what that is. So
oh yeah, well,
we'll take
at least you know what, just Kevin, you have to remind next time, let me know when it's coming up so I can make it down there for Cracker Weekend.
Oh, is that what you guys are talking about? Oh yeah, listen. You guys are fun at the Cracker Week or whatever it is there. I thought he said weak ass crackers. I gotta okay. All right. Thought he was insulting me.
I think he's a little dyslexic. That's probably what that is right there. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing and subscribing, and tell your friends about The Rundown. 2A News with conservative views.
Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you on Manic Monday.